Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll look at an increase in high-profile workplace harassment lawsuits. Also tonight, hear about a new drug in the fight against ALS. And we'll check out some wildlife selfies captured at a Cave Creek park. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Fox News, Uber, and jewelry stores Jared the Galleria and Kay Jewelers have all been the subject of employee allegations regarding workplace harassment. Employers have a legal obligation to conduct a prompt and thorough investigation of harassment claims, but bad decisions dealing with the issue can lead to lawsuits and further harassment. Here to talk about all this is attorney Jeffrey Brodeen, who specializes in workplace investigations. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, Ted.
Let's get a definition here. What exactly is workplace harassment?
It's subjecting an employee to conduct that's illegal, be it some type of a harassment that affects their job performance, their job conditions based on a protected class, race, gender, sexual orientation, any number of the protected classes, and it's harassing that employer, subjecting them to hostile environment based upon those characteristics.
So we're talking retaliation, we're talking discrimination, harassment, the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
Are these instances increasing?
The recent report from the EEOC shows that they have not decreased over the last 30 years. It's as prevalent as ever.
Is that surprising to you, considering how well, I mean, everyone who gets hired on at a job now has to go through some kind of training, don't they?
It is surprising because there certainly is training, and there have been a lot of measures taken, I think, over the years to try to address it, but what's become clear is they're not working.
Yeah.
And so I think the question now is, okay, so what's going wrong, what's missing, what are people not doing correctly such that this continues?
The legal obligation of the employer in such a situation is what?
First, they have to have a policy and process in place so that if harassment is occurring in the workplace, person knows an employee knows what they can do, where to go, and then it also has to have a process in place so that whatever the allegations that are raised are dealt with appropriately and determine what appropriate is through the process. The next thing they have to do then, if it is something that needs to be investigated, they have to do a prompt, thorough, and impartial investigation.
It sounds like a lot of companies, though, are making bad decisions when it comes to addressing the issue. What's going on?
It's that second piece where I think employers falter. But most of them have the policy in place. They have the procedures in place. It's what happens when the allegations are raised. Do they investigate it internally? Do they go to an external investigator? It's those decision points about what to do with the information where they really tend to screw up.
How often do the allegations lead to lawsuits?
I don't have a percentage on it, but they vary off. If it's a serious allegation such that really gets everyone's attention in the company first, and then they make these decisions. Do we go outside with this? Do we investigate internally? Who do we use? Those allegations are typically headed for a lawsuit. And so every step of the response of the employer at that time has to be with that in mind. And with that in mind, meaning that they need to make sure they do everything right.
Right.
So that if it ended up in a lawsuit, their defense is we did everything right. It's not what the conduct was that started this whole thing. Typically, the employer's liability is dependent upon what did you do once you knew about it. And that, therefore, is incumbent upon the employer to do everything right, then really cross their T's and dot their I's to make sure that if it does end up in a lawsuit down the road, they can show that they did what they're supposed to do.
Let's talk about some high-profile companies that may not have done what they were supposed to do. We'll start with Fox. Workers are mocked, they're threatened, they're passed over, fired. These are the allegations. These sound like familiar allegations, don't they? I mean, we hear a lot about this when you hear about workplace harassment.
Yes, and the difficulty with Fox was that it sounds that it was a pervasive culture. When it came from the top of the CEO with Roger Ailes for what the allegations are, and then you have some of the stars like O'Reilly in his show, and no one ever being held on the carpet on these things, and actually it seemed like it was conduct that was promoted and was certainly part of the workplace culture that was okay.
Yeah, a couple dozen, I think, harassment cases Fox is now facing here.
They've settled already. It's hard to keep track because there are more all the time that come out, but they've paid something like over $40 million on claims against Ailes, and then I think 5 women were paid $13 million to settle with O'Reilly, and there's still all kinds of lawsuits still going on.
And this is A, bad decisions, but B, decisions with O'Reilly especially. You're talking about a high earner here, someone who returns a lot to the company. I would imagine in a lot of instances, management is careful with those kinds of folks.
Sure. I think one of the phrases that I've heard talk in reference to this is Fox, in a situation where these issues are raised, supposed to be kind of like the policeman, but in those situations, they're the wingman, not the policeman.
Oh my goodness, all right. Uber, HR departments systematically ignored claims. This is the Uber problem. Is that a common problem?
Definitely. I think the Uber example, because it's lower level employees, so it's the type of thing that can happen in any workplace. You don't typically have the CEO involved in these things, but it happens. The Uber situation is you have an employee, frontline engineer employee, she raises issues of pretty direct sexual harassment by her supervisor, and HR was supposed to investigate it, but really, from what her blog post was after she was fired, was that they didn't do anything about it, or what they did about it was just precious little.
Well, it sounds as though she was fired after informing HR there might be other allegations.
Exactly.
That's not right.
No, it isn't, and it's illegal.
Yes. All right, Kay and Jared, the jewelry companies, the corporate culture. This sounds like this was Bacchanalian Festival. This sounds like crazy times here on retreats and vacations and on those sorts of things.
Absolutely. I mean, there's numerous witness statements that have come out of that case is actually being arbitrated that made it hit the news because it's a fairly old case at this point. But there were hundreds of employees who said that they were subjected to direct demands for sexual favors from their bosses, sexual harassment just in the day-to-day, groping, banter, and that it was really pervasive through all the stores, and that, again, investigated internally and nothing done with it.
Well, and that's one thing about this case I found fascinating. The new hires were told that they had to waive their rights to bring any kind of a suit against the employer in a public setting. They had to go to private arbitration. Is that legal?
That is legal if it's done, if it's crafted appropriately, and it's fairly common, particularly in retail, that associates are asked to sign as a part of their new hire process an agreement that says that if they have a claim, any discrimination, harassment, anything like that against the company, they will file it. It will be submitted to arbitration. They won't go outside.
But what good comes from a private, legally binding decision?
Employers like them because it contains it in some way so that, one, they know what it's going on, and that they really don't do it to try to get out of the claims. The approach is really to have a more efficient process. Someone brings in a claim, we can get an arbitrator in, we can get it taken care of, put it behind us. Whereas if it were to go the EEOC process and went outside agencies, those things can take a really long time.
And as far as these allegations failing to stand up in court, common, not common? And once these get to court, do these usually wind up in some kind of result against the employer?
First, it's very rare for an employment case to go to court.
Interesting.
If it gets far enough that, you know, there are some bad actors, some bad facts, they settle because the downside is so high for the employer.
Yes.
And typically they're the type of claims you can put a dollar figure on them so that you don't want to go to a jury with some bad facts about someone being harassed in the workplace. No employer really wants to be in that situation.
Yeah.
So typically they settle, but they can go pretty far before they hit that settlement.
Last question, and it's a repeat of of one of my earlier questions. Shouldn't this kind of stuff be common knowledge by now?
It should be. I think where this common knowledge is lacking is the companies holding their supervisors and leaders accountable. And by accountable, both in kind of the day-to-day, if this comes across your desk, if you hear about it, by God, it's part of your job to do something about it, and it should be part of their evaluation process. And also that when it does go further, someone does bring it forward, that they look long and hard at who should investigate this. We can't rely on our HR people most of the time because they're busy. They have a business unit they're supporting. Are they really going to investigate that business unit? It's really calls for bringing in someone from the outside who's objective.
I was going to say in-house counsel can only go so far, especially when you're dealing with high returners.
And in-house counsel, you don't want to breach a privilege there either, and so they should be advising from the legal perspective and bring in an outside investigator to really, what you want to do is have someone look at the facts, come back with the objective findings, and then they can decide what to do with it.
All right, good information. Good to have you here. Thanks for
joining us. Good to be back. Thank you.
Next on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear about a new drug to treat ALS.
When I'm outside and in a beautiful place, I feel like a better, more whole person. I saw the National Park series from Ken Burns on PBS. The series was so passionate and so enthusiastic that it makes you want to experience it. So I decided to go from Florida to Alaska and visit national parks along the way, and I'd only do it by bike. Rocky Mountain National Park, Tetons, Yellowstone, Glacier, Denali. I wouldn't have started an adventure like this if it wasn't for PBS. Listening to the historians and the rangers talk about how the parks were formed and what they mean to America, all of those things make you want to explore them. You want to be down by the river, you want to dip your toe in it, you want to experience it. I really feel like in order to achieve something that it just takes effort, that if you keep at it, you're very likely to succeed. PBS inspired me to live more fully and take the adventure of a lifetime.
For the first time in 22 years, a new drug's been approved by the FDA to treat ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. The new treatment provides some encouragement to ALS patients and their families, but the disease is still alarmingly expensive to live with. Indeed, the yearly cost of living with ALS can reach $200,000. Here to talk about the new treatment and fundraising efforts to help people who suffer from ALS is Dr. Jeremy Shefner, professor and chair of neurology and senior vice president at Barrow Neurological Institute, and Taryn Norley, executive director for the ALS Association, Arizona chapter. Good to have you both here.
Hi.
Lots to talk about here. Let's get a definition of terms. What is ALS?
ALS is one of a group of diseases called neurodegenerative diseases. So it's in the category of diseases including Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease. So for whatever reason, we don't know the reason most of the time, a certain part of the brain begins to degenerate. In ALS, it's the part of the brain that deals with movement. So people start with weakness in a hand, a leg, the face, and the weakness just slowly spreads from wherever it starts.
So it attacks nerve cells to the, and like pathways to the spinal cord, that kind of a thing?
It affects both the nerves that go from the brain to the spinal cord and the nerves that go directly to the muscle.
From what your experience with ALS, is it hereditary? Do we see this running in families?
So 10% of it is hereditary and then 90% sporadic.
Oh my goodness.
So we don't know.
So we really don't have any risk factors, or?
No, not that we know of.
Do you know anything at all?
Well, a couple. So strangely, and it benefits people who have this, is that veterans have a higher incidence of getting ALS than people who haven't served in combat. And so it's a service-connected disease from the VA. So patients with ALS who are veterans can get veteran services, which is a significant benefit for them. The only other risk factor that really has been agreed on is smoking. Smoking does increase your risk a little bit.
Interesting. All right, so we now know what it is. How is it treated?
Well, I've been taking care of ALS patients since 1990, and when I started, there was nothing to do except for try to make them comfortable. In 1993, the first drug that is still being used to treat ALS, called Riluzole, was approved by the FDA. And Riluzole has a definite but very modest effect. It prolongs survival by 3 to 6 months, probably improves function a little bit. The hallmark of clinical care has been and still is a multidisciplinary approach to make sure that nutrition is optimized, that breathing is helped as much as possible, and that rehabilitation is present to keep people walking. But recently, as you've mentioned, a second drug has been approved that clearly impacts ALS in a more significant way than we've been able to before.
Extends lifespan?
Well, we don't know that because the study that led to its approval was only a 6-month study. So we don't know that it extends lifespan, although it should. It seems to preserve function, and the longer you take it, the bigger the difference is between people who take the drug and people who don't. And so we would expect that it would prolong life.
Has to be encouraging news to the ALS community.
It is. The hope that this drug is bringing is really exciting.
And it also means that there's a new drug out there that's going to have to be paid for. Talk about the expense. I mean, that is all, you can really rack up the bills here. Yeah,
it gets very expensive. And so for the drug, we don't know yet what it's going to be as far as what the insurance companies are going to do, unless Dr. Steffner, you have anything to speak to that.
Well, we know what the company has said it's going to charge, and it's about $140,000 a year just for the drug.
Just for that one drug?
But it's an intravenous drug, and so the drug has to be infused 10 times a month for an individual patient. So there's costs and effort associated with that as well.
All right. So I know that you've got an event coming up called Bite Night to just help some of these folks. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so Bite Night is a fundraising event, and we'll have 14 restaurants that compete against each other to provide the best bite of the night. But the real excitement comes from this year we'll have over 800 people there attending at the Westin Kierland, and we hope to raise a lot of funds to help support our patients. And that's really what the ALS Association does here in Arizona.
Are you seeing, it sounds like, the first drug in 22 years to help, it sounds like it's been kind of quiet and kind of dark for quite a while. Are you seeing a little bit of light here?
We are. You know, I think when the FDA made the announcement, it was a Friday afternoon, and the ripple effect. I started receiving texts and emails from our patients and the excitement, and I'm sure the doctors' offices were the same. Yeah,
I was going to say, it's interesting you say texts and emails from patients. The cognitive functioning of patients, not affected?
Well, it can be. About 20% of patients have problems with thinking, and some of them actually become, frankly, demented. But the majority of people go through this disease with the same mental state and the same personality as they had when they started. So in some ways that's a blessing, and in other ways it's a curse.
Yeah.
Because you remain really aware of what's going on for the entire life, the span of the disease.
And again, as far as the decline in physical function, I would imagine for some it's quick, for some it's slow. Do we know why?
You're exactly right about the variability. Some people decline from diagnosis to death in about a year, and some people live decades or longer, and we really don't know why that is. That would be an incredibly important clue to be able to have, and we don't have it yet.
The ALS Association, how do you help folks? If someone just finds out that either they or a family member or a loved one has been diagnosed, where do you come in?
So we provide, our biggest program is our medical equipment loan program. So we offer medical equipment to our patients. It can be a powered wheelchair, it can be bathroom equipment, which can be very costly, and we're able to provide that to them free of cost. We also have support groups. You know, if you're faced with a terminal disease, you want people around you who know what you're going through. So our support groups have been very positive.
The support groups, I would imagine, be pretty positive for the families as well. Are there separate support groups only for family members?
There are. So we have our groups that provide service for both the patient and the family, and then we have a separate caregiver support group. And this past year, we recently started our children's support group.
Wow.
So children do not get ALS, but they're affected by it. We say ALS affects the entire family.
Children don't get ALS. Is this an age-related disease?
It's an age-dependent disease, yeah. So the average age when people get it is about 57 to 60, but I've had a patient as young as 18. Lou Gehrig was 36 when he got it, and I've had patients that I've diagnosed in their 90s, so it's a huge spread.
You know, I remember reading not too long ago, last question here, that Lou Gehrig may not have had ALS. What was that all about?
Well, I think that was a misrepresentation. So that ties into the entire NFL chronic traumatic encephalopathy
the CTE
business.
thing, yeah.
And so a pathologist in Boston looked at 10 ALS patient autopsies and compared them to people with CTE and showed some similarities. And then made the case that Lou Gehrig was a football player, played at Cornell when they didn't have helmets, and made the case that it might have been ALS. But CTE doesn't look like ALS. And Lou Gehrig had all of his mental faculties when he died. He had all the signs of ALS, none of the signs of CTE. So I think Lou Gehrig had Lou Gehrig's disease.
All right. Good information. Good to have you both here. Thanks for
thank you.
joining, and good luck with Bite Night.
Thank you.
The Colorado River has carved over 600 miles of canyons in southern Utah and northern Arizona. As sublime as these chasms are, to travelers, they pose a seemingly insurmountable problem. Just how do you get to the other side? A highway marker on US 89A commemorates a successful effort that for nearly 60 years did just that, Lee's Ferry. Mormon pioneer John D. Lee came here in 1871. He established a ferry service across the Colorado River at the only natural point for 600 miles. Lee, seen here seated on his coffin, was executed in 1877 for his role in the Mountain Meadows Massacre, when 120 immigrants heading to California were murdered in Utah. The ferry operated for 52 more years, transporting thousands of hikers, horses, wagons, and even small automobiles across the river. Only the railroad and finally in 1929, the Navajo Bridge made Lee's Ferry obsolete. Today, the original Navajo Bridge is reserved for pedestrians, while the new Navajo Bridge, built beside it in 1995, caters to cars and trucks. While the ferry itself is long gone, the name remains. Lee's Ferry is now the terminus for thousands of awestruck sightseers rafting on the mighty Colorado River.
Cave Creek Regional Park sits on nearly 3,000 acres at the border of Cave Creek and Phoenix. The park is a serene and peaceful home for all sorts of wildlife, but for most visitors, getting to see that wildlife, it's not always so easy. Producer Shauna Fisher and photographer Rob McJanet introduce us to a ranger who's been able to capture some remarkable wildlife selfies.
Every day, you'll find Ranger Mark Paulett walking the beat. In this case, his beat is the Cave Creek Regional Park.
How you doing, old man?
As an interpretive ranger, Paulett oversees programs that teach about nature and wildlife.
Neck rub.
Paulett also takes care of the resident tortoise, Piccolo.
He is a Sonoran desert tortoise. He's a long-term captive, non-releasable, and so we use him as an animal ambassador, and he's pretty friendly. Lots of personality.
Paulett and Piccolo have a long-standing relationship. Back in 2009, before Paulett was assigned to this park, his son's Eagle Scout project was to create this watering hole for Piccolo.
Originally, after constructing the water hole for the tortoise, we noticed that the water levels were dropping significantly faster than he could drink them.
Soon, Paulett had a bit of a mystery on his hands.
So we figured, based on that and some of the tracks and other signs in the area, that there was probably some other animals in there and taking advantage of the free water source. Insert the new batteries.
Paulette set up a camera in the corner of the watering hole to see who was coming to dinner.
Just screws on.
And he was surprised at just how many guests there were. Every week or so, Paulette reviews the videos
to see who's been visiting.
As many as 200 clips. The camera has a motion sensor, so it kicks on whenever there's movement.
Just reviewing from the last few days while I was off to see who's been visiting and so forth.
Clip after clip, you can see great horned owls.
There's the queen.
Coyotes.
Interesting how skittish the coyotes are.
Javelinas, a gray fox, and birds.
A dove and a house finch in this one. We do see a lot of the same animals repeatedly. They're fairly territorial and creatures of habit. And so they come around pretty much the same time of day, every day. And we can recognize certain individuals based on their behaviors, or some of them have scars or wounds, just different colorations and patterns depending on what they are.
The Parks Department created a Facebook page and posted the videos for the public to see, and it's been wildly popular.
Most of the folks that see these videos are pretty pretty impressed. They don't seem to realize that these things are here, and I get comments like, "Oh, I've been hiking there for 10 years and I've never seen one of those."
Paulette says the key to seeing the wildlife in the park is to stop and just observe. Most of the time, the animals are hiding in a bush or just hanging out.
We're the most biodiverse desert in the world, and there's just so much to see if you stop and take a look.
Paulette says he's enjoyed seeing the different animals, but the best part? Showing off his office space to the public.
Getting to share my passion for the environment and for the animals with folks that may not have the opportunity to do this every day, or they come visiting from another country or another state, and they just have no idea that all these animals and plants exist in the desert.
And if you would like to see more of the wildlife videos, head to the Cave Creek Park Facebook page. Wednesday on Arizona Horizon, we'll check out plans for what was Fiesta Mall in Mesa, and we'll hear about a lawsuit over the president's proposed border wall on grounds of harm to the environment and cultural areas. That's Wednesday at 5:30 and 10, right here on Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
On American Epic, the record industry extends its reach, showcasing the country's diversity.
Everyone was so excited to have a Cajun song on a record.
And a lost pioneer is rediscovered.
People just knew him as Mississippi John Hurt.
In American Epic.
Tonight at 8 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
Throughout its history, Arizona PBS and volunteers have enjoyed a rich and rewarding partnership. Whether answering phones during our pledge campaigns, stuffing envelopes, or assisting with special events, volunteering is fun and provides excellent work experience, team building for a group, and a sense of community involvement and importance. If you would like to volunteer, or if you have dropped off our mailing list, we encourage you to call the number on your screen or go online at azpbs.org/volunteer. Thank you.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS, life